excited to have everybody with us today. My name is Mary Scholl with the Institute for Collaborative Learning, and I am up in sunny San Carlos and San Ramon. We live sort of on the border of San Carlos and San Ramon in a small village, and we're very excited to be able to be with you today. I've got 5 people from our team. 2 of us are here in El Limbo de Peñas Blancas. Roger and Nico are in Alajuela, and Matt is in California today. And we are here to facilitate and share with you a session for the high school teachers from the Ministry of Education in Costa Rica. But we also welcome our guests from other countries and other places. The topic this morning is online project-based learning and exploring the pre-teaching stage of the action-oriented approach. So we're going to have some welcoming words now and an introduction to the day, and then Roger and Nico will start with a workshop from about 8:20 to 10. From 10 to 12, we're going to have some group work by region that's organized by our amazing and wonderful regional advisors. And at 1:30, we're going to come back to the Zoom and the Facebook Live. We're going to start at 2 o'clock, but we're going to come back at 1:30. We'll share a couple of videos from our work here and just give everybody a chance to get settled in, just like we did this morning. And then from 2 to 3, we're going to look at the projects that teachers have created and have some time for questions and answers and reflecting on the day. So we're excited to have you all with us today. I'm going to show you the lineup of who's going to be saying hello to you this morning.
Un saludo muy especial, compañeros, compañeras, profesoras de la enseñanza al inglés. Primero agradecerles participar en esta capacitación, que es una capacitación que su contenido hoy tiene una relevancia mucho más importante en el contexto que estamos de la pandemia. Desarrollar habilidades para el trabajo con las tecnologías de la información y apropiarse de las tecnologías para el trabajo que cada una y cada uno de ustedes desarrollan es de vital importancia hoy más que nunca. Agradecerle también a los colaboradores que han hecho posible esta capacitación para ustedes, a la Alianza para el Bilinguismo, a la Embajada de los Estados Unidos, que siempre ha venido apoyando al Ministerio de Educación Pública con diferentes estrategias, a National English Advisor, al Instituto para el Aprendizaje Colaborativo. Recordemos, Costa Rica ha puesto la fe y la esperanza en el proyecto de una educación bilingüe, en una Costa Rica bilingüe para el 2040, y parte de esas estrategias es ese camino hacia esa educación bilingüe que se merece, necesita y requiere nuestro país. Muchas gracias por eso, una nueva felicitación, gracias por todo ese trabajo que hacen ustedes en las aulas que hacen la diferencia de la educación en este país.
Welcome to these trainings that are coordinated by the Ministry of Public Education, the U.S. Embassy, and the great support of our National English Advisors. These trainings are also provided by experts of the Institute for Collaborative Learning. These professional development experiences will help you explore new methodologies, new ideas, and to develop new skills in order to enhance the continuity of learning process of your students. You will also have the chance to develop new ideas and new approaches for distance learning. We hope you will find wonderful opportunities to grow in terms of professional development, and you will enjoy and share experiences with other partners. Have fun.
Yes, sir. And now I'd like to invite Manolo Rojas, who is from the Alianza para Bilinguismo, to share a few words with us as well. Good morning, Manolo.
Good morning. How are you guys doing today?
Good, thanks. Great. This is amazing. Amazing.
Yes.
Manolo, we have 760 people here in Zoom, and we have another, I think, 60 or 70 on Facebook.
Great news. Excellent. Good job.
Mm-hmm.
What a nice way to finish the week with this excellent workshop. Well, on behalf of the Alliance for Bilingualism, I would like to congratulate the participants and partners of this important training. Well, my dog is barking over there. Special thanks to the Embassy of the U.S., National English Advisors, and the presenters who are experts from the Institute for Collaborative Learning. But most of all, I want to thank you, dear teachers, for all the hard work you have been doing during this time of crisis. I feel pride in the fact that the purpose of this activity is to implement new methodology as well as strategies, skills, and practices for creating effective distance learning opportunities for all students. You know, in some cases we have students that don't have access to connectivity. However, they are having self-learning guides that will also help them in this process of acquiring language. So that's really important. So you must know that as the coordinator of the Alliance for Bilingualism, I have high expectations of this workshop, and I know that all the things that you're going to learn, you're going to share that all with your students, and we're going to continue in contact, which is very important with our students. About 1.5 billion students in the world are now at home, and they need their teachers, they need their support. And I know you have been working with all of our students, providing them with ideas, with classes, with lessons in a very smart way. I have seen many great things that you are posting on internet, and that's really nice. So congratulations all. Thank you, Mary. Thank you to your team for the great work you're doing. Thank you to Carmen, to the advisors, and to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Manolo. I so appreciate you being with us today.
Good morning, everyone. Manolo, national advisors, regional advisors, Mary, and the famous and amazing team. Relo, that is young. It's so good to see you here. And Relo assistants, of course. Teachers, welcome to this amazing training that you're going to have today at the U.S. Embassy. We are very happy to provide you with these type of opportunities now in this moment of crisis. And I know that at the end of this day, you are going to go back to your world empowered with many new ideas. These, as I said, it's an amazing team, and you are making history, all of you. These 3 days have been amazing, and you can tell that the president knows about what you are doing, the minister knows, and the vice minister knows. So be proud of yourselves and enjoy the day. Thank you.
So grateful for the work that we get to do and the support from the U.S. Embassy. Okay, I'm going to bring in Dennis Yang. Dennis, I'm going to spotlight you first so we get to see you. You know, we've unmuted you. Good morning. Welcome. Dennis Yang is the Regional English Language Officer from the U.S. State Department, and he's based in Panama, but he works with teachers from out the region. So welcome, Dennis. We're really happy to have you with us. We have upwards of 800, 900 teachers with us so far, mostly from Costa Rica, but on our Facebook Live, we noticed we have a few people from other countries in the world as well.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dennis Yang. I'm the Relo here. I'm based in Panama, but I also cover the region. So let me first of all thank Mary and her team. Thanks for inviting me to sort of to say hello to everybody. And I wanted to sort of thank you and your team for leading these wonderful series of workshops. And I'm sure that everyone has enjoyed their time, as well as for the teachers here today, that like what everyone has already mentioned, will do your best to take advantage of the lessons learned and all of the best practices that you will acquire from this day and from previous days, and obviously do your best to try to spread this knowledge to your peers and to students as well in your classrooms. And I just wanted to commend everyone again for taking advantage of this excellent professional development opportunity at this time. So once again, thank you, everyone.
And we're happy to have you with us for as long as you'd like to stay. And we know you have a busy life, but it's really nice to have you with us. We'll move forward, and greetings from the working group here from the Institute for Collaborative Learning. We've got myself, Yvonne Suazo, who's working on the Facebook side of things today. Matt Schaefer's doing our Zoom background work, and our presenters today are Roger Ramirez and Nicolás Cárdenas, who many of you all already know because we've been doing some trainings for many years around Costa Rica, which has been such a blessing. With no further ado, I would like to pass everything over to Nico and Roger. I'm going to spotlight you all. I'm going to mute myself. Nico and Roger have been trainers here with us for many years at the Institute for Collaborative Learning, and we're super excited they can share their experience and wisdom with you all today. Thanks.
Thank you, Mary.
Well, good morning, everyone. First of all, I wanted to say that Marianela Granados and Alfredo Ortega, the English National Advisors, just mentioned in the chat that they were having problems with the sound, and but they wanted to thank all the teachers, in the whole country, for all of the effort that you're putting into this webinar and being here with us today. So thank you for that message, Alfredo and Marianela. Thank you.
If you are just coming in, we were telling everybody at the beginning that you are going to need Mentimeter today, and you can download the Mentimeter app on your phone or on your computer, or on your phone. You can just go to menti.com and enter the code 10A657. This is to participate in some of the questions that we're going to ask you, and if you cannot do it or it's difficult, don't stress out. You're going to be able to be part of the presentation anyway. Today we're going to talk about online project-based learning and the pre-teaching stage of the action-oriented approach. Nicolás Cárdenas Tamburini and Roger Ramirez Draughn. I'm the Nicolás side of things. This is the Roger side of things. Very briefly, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I'm originally from Chile. I have been living in Costa Rica for 9 years. I have been in the classroom since I was young, doing different things, and I feel that my teaching career has taken me from assistant to tutor to teacher to trainer of trainers. So I think my path has been very everywhere, but it has given me a lot of chances to see education from different perspectives. So I'm very grateful, very grateful and humbled to be with all of you here today.
And I am Roger. I am originally from New York City, but I have lived in, I'm also Costa Rican, but I've lived in Costa Rica for over 20 years, and I've had the privilege of working with lots of MEP teachers over the years and seen your reality and been part of working with teachers from all over the world, but also here in Costa Rica quite a bit. And I'm happy to be able to share with you today one more time and to be able to share the topics that we have today, and excited to see all the good work that we'll be doing together today.
It's a lot of us, so it's a little bit difficult to make it personal, but we are going to try to do that. So we have a little agenda here. We have 3 parts of today's presentation. The first one is getting to know who's here in the room with us. So some people already started answering. I don't know how that happened, but now everybody should be able to answer this question. In what province do you teach? We are going to give you a time limit when we are sharing this. So we're probably going to linger in these questions for around 30 seconds, 45 seconds. If you couldn't participate, it's not the end of the world. It's a very nice plus, but don't worry. So we have over 300 people who have answered this. San Jose is taking the lead, then Alajuela, Punta Arenas. I'm very happy that we have a little bit of representation from all over the country. That's really important to us. How long have you been teaching for MEP? Again, some people already started answering. I don't know how that happened, but everybody should be able to see it now on their device if you're on Mentimeter. So go ahead and choose the option that represents your experience.
15% of the people over 20 plus years teaching.
Wow. And then 5 to 9 and 15 to 20 are tied. That is a lot of years of experience. I think that for you as a teacher, when you have spent that many years, you're probably feeling a lot more comfortable in the classroom. you probably can predict some things about your students. So you see some patterns, like in what month participation is higher, what month participation starts to go down. So that's exciting. Okay. And then 1 or 2 words that summarize how you're feeling today. Or it could be just 1 or 2 words that come to your mind. In general, it doesn't have to be feelings or emotions. Somebody wrote collaborative, so we have happy. Happy is very big. That bigger words mean that more people wrote that. So happy is taking the lead right now. Very happy, open-minded, thankful, sleepy. I know. I had to take like a cold shower to wake up like fully. So I definitely understand that.
Thankful is pretty big too. We are also very thankful to have all of you with us today, and to look how big this is getting. Happy, excited, open-minded. That's great.
So we are going to start. Thank you for participating. And this is actually a pretty cool tool. So we're happy that you're also experiencing it. Before we start.
Yeah, before we start with the content of today's webinar, we wanted to do a small pre-assessment. So we have 6 statements right here, 6 can-do statements. I can describe what project-based learning is. I can mention 2 to 3 principles of project-based learning, and 4 other ones. And what we would like for you to do in Mentimeter right now is place yourself either on the left side with no, I would need support to be able to do this, or all the way on the right side, yes, I can do it confidently. So let us know where you're at with each of these statements, and just to get an idea of where you're at now before we start this webinar.
Mm-hmm. By looking at these descriptors, you can get an idea of what we're going to do today. These I can statements are sort of our objectives. So you can see where you are right at the beginning. We will repeat it at the end, and you will see the change in numbers.
People are saying at this point, around 3.9 is the average number for people being able to describe what project-based learning is. We have an average of 2.7 right now. I can mention 2 to 3 principles of project-based learning. I can list the 4 steps of the mini projects based on MEP's curriculum. We have 3.5 right now. Our highest number is 4.7, an average of 4.7, so almost a 5. For the statement, I can describe the purpose of the pre-teaching stage. Then I can name and describe the 3 steps in the pre-teaching stage, because there are 3 concrete steps. We have an average of 3.7 and a 3.8 for being able to mention 1 or 2 activities for each step in the pre-teaching stage. And this is great. There's no good or bad here. It's just a matter of seeing where we're at right now at this point. And then all of these 6 statements we will be working on today. We will be talking about all 6 of these statements in different ways, and you'll also have a chance to work collaboratively with a group of teachers from your region today with the pre-teaching stage. So you'll have also a hands-on opportunity to improve your knowledge in each of these areas.
So I was telling you before that our day has 3 parts. We already went through getting to know everyone, the first mini part. Then there will be 2 main sections. The first main section is about project-based learning and online project-based learning. It has 4 points, and we will go through them together. And the second part is about the pre-teaching stage, which will be useful for the project task that you will have right after this presentation.
And the first question is, what is project-based learning? And we have 2 definitions that we'd like to share with you today. The first one is from Moss, and it says that project-based learning is an instructional approach that contextualizes learning by presenting learners with problems to solve or products to develop. Now, for me, one of the beauties of doing project-based learning is that it helps students really have a problem to work with and to figure out, which really helps them engage, and it helps students have a closer connection with a real world situation, with a real world problem. Another key word here for me is the word contextualizes, because we really want to think about, especially when you're working on the mini projects with your students in MEP, you really want to think about projects that make sense to their realities, projects that are not beyond their scope of understanding of the world, right? So the question for me when I always work with projects are, how can I help contextualize the work that we're doing so that it's more meaningful and relevant to the students? The other definition we'd like to share with you is that project-based learning engages students in authentic learning through project work and provides students with an interdisciplinary, student-centered activity that is integrated with the real world, with real-world issues and practices. And it can be stretched over an extended period of time, and I think this many of you have experienced before when you work in MEP with your students. The project may last a period of around 4 or 5 lessons. So it's not something that happens in one single lesson. It's not an isolated project. It's something that can last over a period of time. Maybe less, a little bit more. Sometimes we have to adapt to the time that we have. Sometimes we wish we had a lot more time, and I completely understand that. Sometimes I wish I can last a whole month with a project, and sometimes in certain contexts you can. I understand that in the MEP, sometimes you're limited to a number of lessons. So the reality is that we want to do the best we can to be able to create that authentic learning experience through the project in the time that we have. So now we're going to talk a little bit about some important principles of project-based learning that are really, really important to keep in mind when we think about projects. And to do that, we want to start with a Mentimeter exercise. And the question for you right now is, what is important to you when designing or implementing a project for your students? So please let us know in Mentimeter. Tell us what is important to you when you're thinking about implementing projects. Go ahead. Okay, so some of the answers are starting to come in. We have, it must be attractive to them. Absolutely. You have to know your students, their level, their skills. Clear goals, I agree with that one, absolutely. You need to be very clear on what the outcomes are and what students are going to be doing by the end of the project. The content, the time, the English level of your students, absolutely. Creativity, I think creativity is definitely a big one. We want to set up projects that allow for students to be able to be creative in different ways. Oftentimes it's, you hear people saying, I'm not creative, I'm not creative. And it's not so much about being or not. I think we all are creative, but in different ways. So I think it's a matter of designing a project that allows for different strengths and different skills from your students to really be able to come into play so that they can develop their creativity. Let's see, it has to be doable, short, clear, absolutely. Usefulness in real life. Yeah, put in practice what they've learned. And I think in the context of a MEP, I think this is really important, because the mini project that you work on is something that builds off of what you've been doing for the previous 3 or 4 weeks. And then the project really brings it all together into this one task that really gets students putting into practice what they have learned.
I like that somebody says make them feel in love with the language. To me, that would be like the ultimate goal. And many teachers can do that in different ways. It depends on your style, it depends on how deeply you understand your students, but that's a beautiful ultimate goal for them to like it as much as possible.
I love when someone is saying that it's fun, engaging, and meaningful. I love the word fun there, because you also want students to really enjoy the project. You want it to be something that is fun to do, something that will really get them interested, get them engaged. And I think it's a matter of thinking of our students' interest and what they like doing, and then thinking of how we can design a project that really fits their reality and their interests. So now we're going to start talking a little bit about a number of principles that we would like to share with you today that we think are important to keep in mind when designing a project, when working with a project, when implementing a project. And some of these we might have talked about a little bit already. And you also probably mentioned a number of these, so we'll see what comes up, what's new. Number one, it needs to be something that builds on previous work. And this is something I was mentioning a few minutes ago, and especially in the context of a MEP, it's something that's not isolated. It's something that builds off of what students have been doing in class, the topics that they've been working on for the previous few weeks. It needs to be comprehensive, meaning it needs to integrate all the skills, hopefully. Somehow you want to integrate speaking, listening, reading, and writing into the project so that students can work on all of the 4 skills and other sub-skills as well. So you want to make sure it's a very comprehensive, inclusive task and project in terms of the skills. You also want to build interpersonal skills, and I think this is probably one of the most important aspects of projects, is that through a project, you are really providing students with an opportunity to practice their interpersonal skills. May that be collaboration, problem solving, negotiating, solving problems, really trying to work with other people and learning more about the strengths of other people, their own strengths, their own areas for growth, weaknesses. And it really is through these projects that students can learn more about who they are as interpersonal human beings. So I think this is a wonderful principle that really helps students develop when we do projects.
Yes, absolutely. Part of the intention of the new curriculum is to educate citizens for a new world, and you will have the experience today of working with other people. And I feel that we're not always taught how to work with other people, and it's not easy. Sometimes you have to negotiate, sometimes you have to give in, sometimes you need to mediate opinions in the group. So group work doesn't come instinctively for everybody. And I think that this is an opportunity for students to practice those skills. And it's not always going to go extremely smoothly. I think that if you have done group work in your classroom, you know that's the reality. Some groups work really well and figure it out. Some groups need a little bit more support. So I just wanted to throw that idea out there, that sometimes we expect that things flow on their own, and they don't always do. And you will see today, you will have to put those interpersonal skills into practice when you work on your project with your fellow teachers.
Another skill that project-based learning promotes is independence. It really, through projects, we are encouraging students to become more independent, critical thinkers who are active. Oftentimes in class, it can be a challenge to really get students to be more active in their participation, in their commitment, in their working with others. But through projects, they really have an opportunity to start showing that independence, to really start engaging in independent work, both group work and independent work. But I think it's really important in project work to really have specific periods of time where students get to work independently so that they can show and demonstrate and work on what they can bring to the project as human beings. Another principle, and this is something that everyone mentioned, or a lot of people mentioned in the Mentimeter exercise, which is that it needs to be contextualized, something that is based on a real life situation. Choice. This is another really important one for us. We find that in a project, rather than just giving students a very narrow, specific, closed option, oftentimes it's nice to give them choice. So for example, if I'm working with the topic of sports, instead of saying, everyone in this classroom, you're all gonna work on soccer and talking about, you're gonna create a project where you are gonna study the psychology of soccer, and you are going to work with the benefits of soccer. And you can tell I don't know that much about soccer, but anyways. But instead of doing that, you can offer choice. So open it up a little bit and say, no, the topic is sports, yes, but you're gonna be able to choose the sport of your choice. Or if sports isn't something that you're really thrilled about, perhaps you can give your students a couple of options of topics that you've been working on. But the goal is, and the idea is that human beings really appreciate and benefit having choice. And that is part of what helps them become a little bit more actively involved, because they're part of the decision making of the project.
Mm-hmm. I have heard, when we talk about this, I have heard teachers say that too much choice, it's can be chaotic, and absolutely you want to give some part of choice that gets students to meet the objective. So when we say choice, it's not anarchy. When we say choice, is that some aspects of the project have some choice, but there's definitely structure still.
And this next principle also came up when we did the Mentimeter exercise. Lots of people were saying it needs to be product oriented, meaning it needs to lead to a clear outcome. A project needs to be very clear on where we're going, what's the map, what's our destination, so that students are clear on what is expected of them. Oftentimes, if a student is not clear on what's expected of them, it might be a little bit more difficult for them to develop the project because they don't know what they're working towards. So we want to make sure that the objectives of the project are very clear, and not only to us as teachers, but very clear to the students as the participants that are really developing the project. And finally, we want to make sure that assessment is embedded somehow. In the curriculum that you guys have, the MEP curriculum that you're working with, the new curriculum, there's always a really important emphasis on self-evaluation at the end of the project, and also peer evaluation and teacher evaluation. But you want to provide an opportunity for students to be able to assess their own work, their own ideas. An example of this is for the can-do statements that we shared with you through Mentimeter about 10 minutes ago, where you were assessing your own abilities to be able to talk about principles of project-based learning or examples of the pre-teaching phase. So the same kind of thing I would try to do with my students. I want to make sure that they have a chance to evaluate at the end what they were capable of accomplishing. And not only does it help them self-evaluate, but I also feel that it helps them have a sense of reward, because they'll be able to see, oh, I've managed to do this, check. I've managed to do this, check. And that sense of reward is very motivating and can really help students look forward to the next project, to the next set of topics that they'll be working with and learning. Okay, we're going to move on now. We've been here talking for a while. You've been probably sitting in your chairs or laying down in your beds, wherever it is that you are right now. I don't know, no judgment. Wherever you are is okay. But we're going to take a little break. Okay, so now we've talked about the definition and principles, some important principles of project-based learning. Now we want to move into talking about the mini project that you, that's part of the curriculum that you have at MEP in the English curriculum. So let's talk about the mini project steps. In order to do that, I'm going to share with you, we have this visual. The first very important step of the integrated mini project is participating and negotiating. This includes everything that students will do at the beginning of the project in terms of brainstorming, discussing, negotiating, making decisions, really preparing themselves to get started with the project. It might also include selecting strategies that they're going to be working with, thinking about the resources, talking about what resources they're going to use. Are they going to use internet? Are they going to use a dictionary? Are they going to interview people? It's really that preparing stage where they are participating and negotiating what they're going to do in the project. The second step of the integrated project is thinking and planning. This has to do with, once they've negotiated what strategies they're going to use, how they're going to do the project, now that it's time to start planning a little bit and start creating, outlining the information that they have. And this is a wonderful opportunity for students to start working together in collaboration. This may include, of course, the language content that they've been working with over the previous weeks or so. For example, if you've been working on past tense, maybe your project has to do with students sharing the most memorable holidays they've ever had and they have to start thinking about past tense a little bit, this might be a moment in which they start planning around that language aspect a little bit to help include it in the project. It's also an important moment for them to start choosing those strategies that they're going to use to work together as they think and plan. Someone is saying, Christian is saying in the chat that it's great because it's instead of boring exams that you prefer projects. We absolutely agree with you. You know, it's not that there isn't a time for tests and exams. There's a time for that, but projects are for sure more engaging and fun for students. The third stage, after students did all the thinking and planning, is rehearsing and acting out. This is where students get to practice their mini project presentation. This is the third stage, and now they are ready to practice it, to rehearse it. They'll have time to finish up the product. They're going to decide who's going to say what, and they're going to actually practice it. They get to act it out in their peers. They are not presenting it yet to the whole group. They're not presenting it yet to their other peers and classmates, but they're practicing in their small group. And then the fourth and final stage has to do with responding and sharing. Here, what's important is that students finally, after they've participated and negotiated, they did the thinking and planning, rehearsed it, they acted it out. Now they get a chance to actually deliver and present their mini project either in pairs or in groups to the rest of the class. Or to, depending on how you plan it, it might be that you have small groups presenting to each other simultaneously. That's another possibility. Or you might have groups one at a time presenting to the whole class. That really depends on how much time you have and how many students, how many groups you have. And also part of this responding and sharing is really the moment where you allow for students to self and co-assess. It might be that students get an opportunity to assess each other's work, to see how they're doing, or it might be that they are assessing on their own performance, their own work. And it's not only the work they're doing in terms of the final product, it also is self-assessing how they did in the participating and negotiating stage, how they did in terms of the stage where they had to think and plan things out. So you're really trying to self-assess the entire phase, the entire process of the mini project. Someone's saying, can we share them on their social networks? Absolutely. You can definitely find ways of doing projects through social networks. And later today, we are going to start talking about different online platforms and apps you can use for these mini projects. So we'll get to that in a second. Okay, let's move on. Now we're going to start transitioning into thinking about the mini projects that you are required to develop in your classes with the MEP. But we want to think about an online environment because that's where we are now. Lots of you are now having to do these mini projects, but online, virtually with your students. Some of you might have a whole bunch of wonderful and amazing platforms and applications that you're using. I've personally learned a lot from many of you teachers over the past weeks and months, seeing different things that you're developing on Facebook, the Facebook page of Teachers, what's the name of that? Teachers, Costa Rica?
Teachers of English, Costa Rica.
Costa Rica, something like that. I follow that page and it's amazing to see all the things that you're doing. The national and regional advisors have also shared some amazing projects that you've been developing online. So we'll also be able to learn some new things hopefully today. So when thinking about the mini projects, we want to first ask you a question, and we're going to use Mentimeter for this. The question is, as teachers, what do you think we should do differently when designing and facilitating and integrating an integrated mini project online, as opposed to doing it face-to-face? So tell us on Mentimeter, what do you think we need to keep in mind? And if you can't do it on Mentimeter, also you can do it in the chat, and you can also do it on Facebook. Tell us what is important to keep in mind. And keep in mind, we're thinking about things that are important online. Someone is saying tech issues, they need to have a plan B. Absolutely. Yes, I think it's also important to keep in mind that we have different types of students and different populations. We have students who have full access to the internet and have a computer or phone that they can work with, and that is a wonderful, ideal situation. That is not the reality of everyone. We do have students who might have internet, but they might not have a computer. Maybe they just have a phone. Or we might have students who have no internet and have no devices, no computers, no phones. And for those students, it's a little bit more difficult to do online projects, but we also can include them, even if just through WhatsApp messages, and having them participate with their classmates through WhatsApp. That I think could be maybe the bare minimum, but it's also possible. In our chat, in the Zoom chat, some people are saying that it's important to keep in mind, a lot of people are saying that the activities need to be simple, short, and they need to be clear. Absolutely. I find that it's a little bit different when you have your students in class face to face. It's a little bit easier sometimes to go over all the instructions, to know what you want to tell them. But when you're preparing for virtual learning, you really need to think a lot about what it is that you want students to do and how it is that you're going to give them the instructions, so that you can plan for that ahead of a time and then make sure they get those instructions and that it's clear enough so that they can understand it with what you're sending them. Because you might not always have a chance to go in and correct yourself or give them instructions again.
I think it's important also to just mention that teachers from all over the world are facing similar realities with the variety of students and their realities and their access to technology. I think this is something that every educator on the planet right now is facing, and we have to make decisions. We have to try to understand what the students' realities are, but yeah, somehow we're all together figuring this out, especially in these times.
So I want to say that it requires teamwork, absolutely, and I think that is one of the exciting parts about doing projects both face-to-face or online, is that it really allows for students to have an opportunity to work in teams and to be able to develop that interpersonal skill. And I think that is a wonderful benefit of doing it online. And I also find that now with this whole COVID-19 and quarantine and being at home, it's also forcing all of us, both teachers, trainers, and students, to learn more about technology. And we are in a period, an era where we need to develop skills working with technology. And I think that is one of the things that we are helping our students develop through these online projects, to help them learn how to use Zoom, learn how to use Padlet, how to use Google Forms, Google Classroom, etc. And that's a skill that students, after they graduate high school, will definitely be able to use in their professional lives. So that, I think, is a wonderful benefit. Okay, everyone, we're going to move on now. Thank you for all of your wonderful thoughts. Your ideas keep pouring in, and it's wonderful to see. But we're going to move on now. And we're going to talk a little bit about some considerations that we think are important to keep in mind when working in an online environment. First of all, it's really important to find technology that best suits your context. And you guys were mentioning this earlier, just a minute ago, with the Mentimeter. And you have to know that maybe my students, my population, can only work with WhatsApp, and that's fine. If I can push them and have them work with Google Classroom, that's wonderful. If I can have them use Flipgrid, which is an app for working with videos, that would be great. But you really need to find the technology that best suits your possibilities and your students' possibilities. Through online learning, you really want to think about how to build community. Sometimes with online working, we forget to really work with that one-on-one, community-based approach. And sometimes it's easier to do that in a face-to-face scenario. But you really want to think about, how do I build community with my students and among teachers, right? You also want to keep in mind how to set clear expectations for your students. You all mentioned this already. You want to think about how to manage your time. I find that one of the challenges with doing online projects is that oftentimes I set something up that gives me so much work, even more work than what I normally do in my face-to-face classes. So you really want to think about how to manage your time so that whatever you're setting up, you can realistically do. Like, you don't want to set up a Facebook page, a WhatsApp group, a Flipgrid group, and then not be able to cover all of them or to be able to connect in all of them. You really want to be clear on what is realistic for you to do. You want to take advantage of lots of free online resources. There are many free resources that you can use to work with your students. We're going to be sharing some of them with you soon. You want to make sure that you are collaborating with your colleagues. I find that in such an uncertain time like what we're experiencing right now, it's really helpful to work even closer together with your other colleagues, teachers, see what other teachers are doing, maybe work with teachers who are teaching the same grade as you, and see what online devices, platforms, applications they're using, and see how you can collaborate, share. Maybe what you've created can work for someone else, what they've created can work for you, and you can really, it's really a time to help each other and collaborate. You also want to find a way to adapt the curriculum, the MEPS curriculum that you have, and how to adapt it to the digital resources that you are using, so you make sure that you are following the curriculum. And finally, I think it's really important that we all stay open and flexible. The reason why we mention this is because with technology, and especially if you're not used to it, there may be lots of curveballs coming your way. There may be lots of moments for frustration if something doesn't work out, if something isn't happening as you want it to happen, if students can't figure it out. There may be lots of challenges and opportunities for frustration. So you really need to be open and flexible to what might happen. You might want to start thinking about using one certain platform, but maybe that might not work out. Students might not have access to internet. You might want to transition to something else. So you really need to stay open and flexible during these times, and working with different platforms and different applications.
Teacher Paulo was asking one of the hardest questions here, and it's about motivation and what if not all students are motivated. Motivation is extremely complex. There's no recipe. We can give you guidelines, and I think some of the guidelines that Roger was talking about will definitely increase the chances that students will be engaged. I wish that people had like an off-on button and we could motivate them to do the projects. I think that changing the culture for us and for our students, that if things are not graded, they're still important, that takes a little while, and I think it's a cultural change, and it's something huge, and it's not going to be perfect at the beginning, but I think that it's super duper important that students realize that even though it doesn't have a grade, it is part of the activities that we're doing. It will definitely have some sort of assessment from the teacher. It might not be a grade, but it will have some sort of assessment. And I just want to acknowledge that, because I have felt the same as a teacher, and like not always everybody wants to do what I offer. That's just a reality of, I think, teachers everywhere, because I have heard this many times. But I just wanted to acknowledge that, Teacher Pedro, that it's definitely a challenge. Many times it depends on your relationship with the students, their personal motivations. Okay, the next topic, we're going to wrap up the project-based learning part of our presentation today, talking about some apps and platforms. Just like anything else, any other skill in life, out of all of the people that are connected watching right now, everybody probably has a different level of skill in terms of technology. Everybody has a different level of motivation in learning new technology. So we wanted to meet everybody in the middle. And what we're going to do is that we're going to present some apps and platforms that we know, that we have discovered. And we will not necessarily teach you how to use each of them, but in the materials you're going to have access to, we prepared a handout with some tutorials for these apps and platforms. So if you're really interested and you're curious, you can watch those tutorials, you can do your own independent work, and you can invest your time in discovering that. So before we go ahead, let's check out this question. What apps and platforms do you know that students could use to do mini projects virtually? So this is not necessarily pages to create worksheets. It's not necessarily pages for us teachers to prepare materials. It's more about apps and platforms that will help students do a mini project, complete a mini project. Okay, I think that we got a sense of what you already know, what you or what you think students could use. That's great. So let's go ahead and move on. These are some of the apps and platforms that we wanted to share with you. We are not saying this is the only list or a comprehensive list. We tried to offer a couple, but of course you might know others. Actually, you already mentioned a couple of others in the word cloud. We separated them according to the medium. So in order to do text-based projects, some platforms that we thought of and that we have used are WhatsApp, Google Docs, Google Forms, and wikis. WhatsApp you're probably all familiar with. It's probably the easiest and the most massive one that most people have in their phones if they have access to internet and they have access to a device. Google Docs, it's Word, but collaborative and online. Google Forms is what you or most of you filled out in order to have access to this presentation or to register in this presentation. So you might be familiar with Google Forms, very good to make questionnaires. Wikis, if you know Wikipedia, you already know a wiki. A wiki is like a small encyclopedia on a specific topic. Wikipedia is the biggest wiki probably because it has knowledge of about millions of things, but wikis can be very, very restricted and some of them are very user-friendly. We also thought of image-based projects, and we thought that two good apps and platforms were Canva. This is not Canvas, that's another one. This is Canva and Prezi. And some of you might already be familiar with these because I have worked with MEP teachers and some of you have some inclination towards the arts and I have seen amazing Prezi presentations. And then platforms and apps for video-based projects include Flipgrid and WhatsApp. Again, not all apps and not all platforms will be equally useful for everybody here. It's impossible to offer a formula for more than 700 people or from teachers around the world even. But this is the menu that we're offering as inspiration. Flipgrid, as Roger was saying, is an application that works mainly with videos. That's the main thing. You can create a class and your students can get a code. They can be part of a class. You post a prompt, a question, and they can record themselves answering or performing. They can respond to each other. It's very interactive, but it's video, so it definitely requires a stable internet connection. And then some multimedia projects can use Facebook, can use Google Sites, which is a very friendly platform to create websites. You can use Padlet. I don't know how familiar you are with Padlet. We're going to show you a very brief example in a moment so you have an idea. And also WhatsApp, because the more we thought about it, WhatsApp, you can send images, text, videos, voice messages. So it's actually very multimedia. Now, talking about apps and platforms, I know it's very personal because if you have no experience with these, I don't know how interested you're gonna be. And as I was thinking about this presentation, I started thinking about TV shows. So apps and platforms for education sound a lot to me like TV shows. A very special person to me, when I just came to Costa Rica, told me, you need to watch Friends. You need to watch Friends. And I was like, not really. I don't like Friends. I haven't ever liked it. Like, it doesn't speak to me. I have two brothers. One of them has been convincing me for years to watch Vikings, like a TV show on Netflix, I think. The other one is trying to persuade me to watch I think it was Breaking Bad, and they say it's great. They say you're gonna love it, but I don't feel that I can always connect to those. Now, the one that I was able to connect to is Friends. I decided to, okay, let's give it a try, and now I love Friends. I feel that with apps and platforms is very similar. I think that you need to open yourself to try it out, see if it makes sense to you, see if you like it, if you understand it. And the more you like it and understand it, the more chance your students will have of being successful with that platform, right? So I cannot tell you which one to use. You would have to determine that. And it's very personal, but openness is definitely key. So we want to show you some examples of projects that teachers and students have created using a couple of these platforms and apps. The first one is on Google Forms. So let me go ahead and this is the one. So this is a Google form and it has a reading comprehension unit. So it has a topic, it has a like some sort of portada here. So I'm gonna write Nico, an email that I don't use. It's my email when I was like 10 years old. And then there's a video, you can watch it. Then there's questions, like a little questionnaire. So this one is more of a quiz than a project itself, but I just wanted you to get the idea of what can be done on a Google form. Students can use a Google form to write their own questionnaires for their peers or for the teacher, and they can write their own surveys. So instead of doing it on paper of define someone who, they can actually create an attractive questionnaire here. The other example that we wanted to show you, it's a wiki creator. This is an example of a wiki about healthy foods. The wiki, there's a couple of wiki creators. We normally use PBWorks. That's the one I have used with my students personally that I recommend because it's very, very simple to use. It has a very simple design and interface. And in here, your students can choose a topic, or you can choose a big topic for them, and they can write some articles. Now, depending on your student's proficiency level, those articles can be just a couple of sentences, or it can be more like one sentence and a picture, but they have this feeling of browsing through an encyclopedia, and that can be of any topic that you choose. So that is the second example we wanted to show you. The third one is Padlet. Padlet, I have personally recently discovered it. And for this example, Roger created a Padlet of his personal information. So,
I think I know this guy.
You probably do. Let's see, tilt your head to the side like in the picture. Yeah, that's you.
I love that. I don't know if you're noticing this, but it says that I'm 13 years old.
Yeah.
Who knows, maybe.
13 years old, yeah, working in education. No, not even. Well, anyway, Padlet, what we liked about Padlet is that it's very, it allows a lot of different media. So you can tell students to create a Padlet of a certain topic and they can write notes. As you saw with Roger, some they don't need to be super complicated. They can be short sentences like family. They can upload pictures. They can record videos. I'm not sure they can record just sound, but at least they can record videos. And it's very, very dynamic. And for free, you can have access to a couple of Padlets at a time. So that's another example we wanted to share with you. And the last one, this is a product of a poster using Canva. Actually, this was made by my nephew. My nephew is in school and in high school, and he's also in quarantine, just like pretty much everybody else. And one assignment that he shared with me was to create a poster for a holiday and some of the activities that he does. And I don't remember, I think he complemented this with an audio, or he had to present it somehow. It's funny, I even saw the turn key instead of turkey, so that was cute. But Canva, it's like a poster generator. It's not just posters, but I think it works really well for images and text. It's very easy and it looks kind of professional. They have templates for free, a number of fonts and images. So if you have students that are more artistic, they might like this one. And you can then complement this with text explaining the poster or audio explaining the poster. So those are some apps that we wanted to show you.
There's an interesting question that has come up in the chat that says, in regards to video projects, what happens with image rights? Could we have any problems with parents? I do think that is something that you really want to take seriously and you want to think about for sure. First of all, you want to check in with your local school to see if there are any policies in place. I can't tell you that I know the exact policies of a MEP in this for this situation, but you want to inform yourself. What I would say is, if you're going to use pictures, if you're going to use videos of your students and they're underage, you definitely want to get permission from the parents. You could create a basic form where students sign off that you can use a picture for X, Y, or Z for whatever project it is. But at the same time, you also want to make sure that whatever you're doing isn't open to the entire world. Like, I don't know that I would create a video of my students doing something or working on a project, and then I'm going to publish that necessarily on an open Facebook page or on an open YouTube channel. You want to make sure that you're doing this through private channels, private pages. You can make Facebook so that it's a private page. You can also make a video that is also private, that it's not shared with everyone else. So I would think about, yes, how do I get permission? And also, how do I make it so that it is as private as possible? Keep in mind that whenever you're also creating videos, there's a possibility of blurring the faces of your students, so they don't necessarily show their faces. That's also another possibility. But thank you for bringing that up. But again, I think it's also important to check in with your MEP authorities, to check in with your high school principals, your regional advisors, to see what policies and MEP has around this situation.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that question. We have lived that ourselves when we are doing a project and we want to take pictures of the great things that are happening in the classroom. It's good. It's true. You need to be careful with that. Okay, we are going to transition into the third big part of our webinar that has to do with the pre-teaching stage. So take a quick brain break of blinking, of looking around.
And if you're willing to do it, why not stand up and jump, hop a couple of times. Jump in where you're standing, hop.
Jump out of happiness. Okay, I hope that you're back with us. We are going to use these last 30 minutes that we have together to explore the pre-teaching stage. So let's go. We are going to do this briefly. We're going to start activating your prior knowledge. What do you know about the pre-teaching stage in the action-oriented approach task cycle, or in the action-oriented approach pedagogical mediation process? So we're going to wait a little bit for some more answers to roll in, but I see a couple of nothings, which is great. A couple of brainstorming, activating schemata. Wow, I love fancy words. I don't know, little, not idea, scaffolding. So what do you know? Not too much. Activation, previous knowledge, some ideas, but engaging students, create confidence, a little, nothing. what's interesting is that maybe you don't know this stage by the official name, but I bet that you have done this with your students. I think that's one of the great things of attending conferences or taking courses is that you realize that what you have been doing actually had a name. So activate students' knowledge, prepare your students' brain. It is useful, introduce a topic. Somebody asked, introduce prior knowledge? Okay. Introduce a topic. So I see a couple of ideas have been recycling through. So let's go ahead and talk about this. So talking about the action-oriented approach in the MEP curriculum, I think it's important to remember what is the cycle of the mediación pedagógica that the curriculum recommends. So if we're talking about an individual lesson, there is a pre-teaching stage that is followed by the completion of a task, right? So the pre-teaching is what comes before the task. The task is that exercise that the students will complete, the time where they will practice, they will do something with the new knowledge. Of course, this can carry across a couple of individual lessons. It depends on your time frame. So I'm talking very generally here. You will see how this fits into your context. And eventually, this work leads to an integrated mini project. That is the part where we take what has happened before, that knowledge, that practice, and we put it into a task, a big task, which is a mini project. And I say big task because it's just a little bit bigger than what they have done in class. It's just a little bit more complex, but it's still a mini project. So all of this happens throughout a single unit. That's what the MEP curriculum and the action-oriented approach set as a guideline. And we're gonna focus on the pre-teaching part of it now. We were talking about the mini project section with Roger, and we will trace back a little bit. There are 3 stages that happened in the pre-teaching phase. We have participating, engaging, and introducing, and we are gonna talk about them one at a time. So in the pre-teaching stage, that is participating stage. According to the curriculum itself, this is verbatim from the curriculum. Students will be participating in warm-up activities such as brainstorming, brain gym activities, predictions, generative questions. So the main goals of this stage are for students to prepare mentally and physically for the lesson, for students to activate the English they already know, and for students to slowly start recalling useful information for the lesson. So for those of you who said warm-up, for those of you who said activating schema, activating prior knowledge, yes, this is the moment when instead of starting the lesson with, today we're gonna talk about this, or this is verb to be, this is the moment where we activate what they already know and we ease students into the lesson. Now, this stage doesn't have to be super long. We are more than aware that time is always a friend and a foe. It's always a limitation. It's always, we never have too much of it. So it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to stretch for a long period of time, but I think it definitely helps students when they can activate the prior knowledge with something that they can do, they are familiar with. So taking into consideration the goals of the participating stage, I want to ask you, what is one specific thing you have done with your students to help them warm up, to help them build community, to help them activate their prior knowledge? So in summary, what is one specific thing you have done with your students in the participating stage? So I love that you said games, and if you could tell us which one as an example, that would be awesome. Some people say asking questions, showing an image, trivias. Oh, trivias are my favorite, especially with weird or unusual information that always catches the attention of the students. Doing some brainstorming, lots of word games, role plays, videos, questions, using generative questions, games and motivation. That's great. Oh, charades.
Everyone loves charades.
Everyone loves a good charade. And the students get really intense with charades. Matt was talking yesterday about primary school students and how they are developing a sense of what's fair and what's not. And when I think of charades, I think of half the students saying, this is not fair, this is not fair, I won. So it's confusing, but it's a little bit chaotic, but it's fun chaotic. Okay, I think we got an idea of more or less what types of activities you have done. And I love it. I love the word motivation there. That's cool. Some ideas that we want to offer you, and again, you will have access to this material, so don't mind me if we go through it and it doesn't give you a chance to write or record these ideas, that's fine. But some ideas that we were thinking, it's brainstorming or eliciting words, images from a certain topic. So asking students, when you hear this topic, what do you think about? What pictures come to your mind? What words do you know? Talking about my favorite, doing different types of stretches. That one is more in the physical side of getting ready. Then discuss the unit's generative questions. I think some people wrote that. Play a word game related to the unit's topic. So hangman or stop. Answer general introduction questions to build community. And this is something that I got in the habit of doing. Doesn't matter where I teach, doesn't matter what I do. If my students don't have a very high level of English, I do my best to make it simple for them, but I always try to ask them a personal question. So one thing they did yesterday, one thing they will do today, what they had for lunch, just how they are feeling, draw with a smile how you're doing right now. What's one word to remember from last class? It can be, there's endless possibilities, but always starting with a little something that helps you connect with them. And then play any language game with vocabulary they might already know. You mentioned charades, and you mentioned bingo and a couple of other ones. So I like that we're on the same page. The second stage is the engaging stage. This one is definitely more restricted, and it's more specific than the previous one. According to the curriculum, again, verbatim, students will be engaging in the presentation and discussion of unit goals. Let's explore that, because I know what some of you might be thinking when you hear this about listening to unit goals. So the objectives of this stage are for students to know and or react to important goals of the lesson or the unit, sort of like the can-do statements that we shared with you at the beginning. And actually in the curriculum, they are written as can-do statements too. And then for students to discover and discuss real life applications of content. Some of you said when Roger asked you what's important, when you are working on a project, make it relevant to their lives, make it significant, make it real world. And I think that sharing the objectives doesn't always have to be this mechanical thing. We can also bring it to life by saying when in real life people use this. So again, I know this is more restricted and some ideas might repeat, but what is one thing that you have done with your students to share the unit or the lesson's objectives and to have them react to them somehow?
I also like this idea of tell experiences, because oftentimes you can share an objective by sharing an experience that you have related to the objective or related to the topic. And that not only gives you an opportunity to share the objective, but it also relates it and connects it to a real life experience that the teacher has had, and students really appreciate and can connect to that.
Absolutely. I can relate to that, because one time I had an embarrassing situation talking with somebody in English. I told them you should do this to give them advice, and I didn't realize that should was very strong, very, very, very strong. So whenever I teach that topic of vocabulary for advice and how we're gonna learn vocabulary and grammar for advice, I always tell that story. To share advice tactfully, to share advice carefully. So thank you for your activities. That's great. Some of the activities and the ideas that we thought about. is to show the lesson or the unit's objectives, and students respond to it by highlighting, drawing an emoji, write a percentage. So for example, students could highlight the ones that are most interesting to them. Students could highlight the ones that they already know, or the ones that they have no idea how to do. Draw an emoji. They could react to each objective by writing how they feel about it, if they feel excited, if they feel that they have no idea. Write a percentage. I have done that with my students too. They write a percentage from 0 to 100. 0 being I have no idea how to do this, 100 being I can do this. So how they feel about the objective. And you did something similar in your self-assessment too. Also, assess how much they know about the topic already by doing a short exercise or drawing faces. So some of you were saying that you use role plays, you use surprise questions. Sharing objectives doesn't always have to be just writing the objectives on the board. It can be a little bit more indirect sometimes by doing some activities and see how the students react to it, right? And see what they can do. A little bit more of an inductive approach there. And also brainstorm real-life uses of the unit's lessons content. Yes, whenever possible, I think this can be really powerful for some students to really understand, especially if you have teenagers who are becoming adults and who are more interested in the why of things. They might not always show it. They might not always ask you or tell you that they're interested, but many students really engage more when they understand why we're learning this. And the real life use of the content is why they're learning it. Let's transition into the last stage, the introducing stage. This one is definitely the most open-ended one. So according to the curriculum, in the introducing stage, the students will be exposed, or they will be introduced to different text types using visual aids, technology, key vocabulary, graphic organizers, sounds, grammar, and sentence frames. So what are some goals of this stage? For students to encounter and clarify important content they will use later in the lesson, or for students to practice key content through controlled exercises. Well, both work together. So this is the moment where the exploration of the content actually starts. And this is not the moment where we expect students to be masters of this, right? This is the moment where we expect them to encounter that new content. So this is super open because there is many ways to begin a lesson and to begin the exploration of content. So what is one activity you have implemented to pre-teach words or structures that its students will need to do the task? How have you introduced grammar or vocabulary in a lesson? I like that some of you already write about technology. That's great. Prezi, Kahoots, videos, games, PowerPoint. Find the error game. That's fun. To write an example sentence, that's also a lot of fun. And it can be helpful for some students. Not everybody likes formulas. Not everybody learns with formulas. Some people really learn with examples. A video explaining it, yes. Gap activities, so they need to write the missing information through a video, charades with a song, flashcards, puzzles. I love when teachers introduce new grammar and new vocabulary with examples, with a context, with a situation, because I think it makes it way more relevant than just saying, this is verb to be, these are adjectives. I don't think that's necessarily relevant for a student from their perspective, right? From their point of view. Find someone who, through videos, small puzzles to form a sentence. Oh, I love those. Those are fun. Modeling, sequencing pictures. That's great, especially if you're using some narration tenses. Double hot potato. Oh my God, I don't think I'm familiar with double hot potato. That's fine.
I played hot potato. I wonder what double hot potato.
I love it.
Maybe you have two potatoes going at once.
Right. There's more danger. Okay, we're reaching 300 responses, so I think that we're good. Thank you for your ideas. And some of the ones that we thought about, again, I think that out of the 3 stages, participating, engaging, and introducing, Introducing is where there's endless possibilities to introduce grammar or vocabulary or the topic of the day, or language that students will need to do the task. So some ideas. Ask students questions to check if they can already produce the target grammar and vocabulary. If you're familiar with the concept of an inductive approach, this is definitely an inductive approach, right? So instead of telling them you are going to learn about past, ask them a question in past. Ask them a question where they need to use past and see if they use it or not. Maybe they will, maybe some won't, right? Students work with a short, level-appropriate listening or reading text and focus on certain vocabulary and grammar. Some of you were talking about this. You introduce it in context with a little dialogue, or some of you have used songs to introduce important language. Well, the opposite of inductive is just the deductive approach, right? So just explicitly announcing key vocabulary and grammar and practice saying it. This can be very helpful when there's not a lot of time, or when you just need to get to the point fast. Sometimes it works. And then unscramble mixed letters to form vocabulary words, and scramble mixed words to form a sentence with a certain grammar point. I think somebody was mentioning that one, and that's a lot of fun. Matching words with synonyms, definitions, opposites, examples, images, etc. That's something that you can do so that students clarify this language. Play Pictionary or charades in order to quiz partners, right? So some activities will apply to different stages, but the intention is slightly different. You can use Pictionary to introduce a topic for activating schema, but you can also play Pictionary to actually introduce certain language.
I just want to give a shout out to the Face Group Live group, everyone following us on Facebook. We see you. We have lots of wonderful ideas coming from Facebook. We have Katia Rodriguez saying that she uses flashcards, hot potatoes, videos. Jason Chavez saying that he uses games and picture walls. That's wonderful ideas. Mayela says that she uses scrambled sentences. Geraldine Salazar says that she uses songs, gaps, crosswords, videos. Christian uses examples, questions, negative sentences. So many wonderful ideas coming not only through Mentimeter, through Zoom, but also through Facebook Live. So if you're out there on Facebook, please continue sharing your ideas. And yes, Darze, we miss trainings too, and we love you too.
Thank you for the ideas on Facebook too, for following the presentation on Facebook. And just to wrap up that point, since I became a teacher, I don't know if it happened to you, I don't look at the world the same way. If I see a magazine that nobody's using, I'll grab it. If I see materials that people are trashing, I would probably grab them, because I want to save materials to use in my classrooms. And I'm super visual, and I love, for example, magazines, and then they help me introduce a topic. I can do a gallery walk. I know that not everybody has access to a printer all the time, so it's a matter of checking what resources you have around you. So I definitely agree with all of those ideas. So these are the 3 stages of the pre-teaching phase. And we already shared with, we already talked about them. We talked about things that you do and some ideas. Before we continue, before we talk about the project that you will be doing, and then keep smiling, because we are going to be taking pictures of the ones that are attending this meeting. They are attending this presentation, and it takes a little while. We know that because it's probably many pages. So if you want to turn on your video, go ahead. Please smile for a little while as we take screenshots of all of you. And this is probably going to take 2 minutes, which sounds short, but keeping a smile for 2 minutes can be a little bit challenging. So we really ask you to do your best.
Hold that smile.
for now. And let's talk about the application project task that you will have for today, which is all about the pre-teaching stage. I think most of you have already a PDF or a document with the instructions for this project task, but we're gonna go over them quickly, and if you need clarification later, you can definitely check in with your regional advisor or check that document again. What's the objective? To design the pre-teaching portion of a specific theme unit level. You have been already assigned a specific unit level. And if you don't know which one is, you will know very soon. But this is the main objective for today's work. Some conditions. You will work with teachers belonging to the same regional as you. Your unit and topic have already been assigned. Your team will have from 10 to 12, which is our recommended time to prepare the project. And the ultimate intention is to share those projects with teachers from all around Costa Rica. So hopefully these projects will go to the national toolbox. And here are some instructions. Review the 3 stages of the pre-teaching stage: participating, engaging, and introducing. Make sure that you have a very solid idea of what they are. And then plan activities and materials you want to include in each stage. Okay? Remember, they don't have to be huge, big, complicated things. Just make sure that you tackle and address the objective of each stage. Then we will ask you to create a PowerPoint presentation with 6 slides. This is the way you're gonna share your ideas. A PowerPoint presentation of 6 slides. So if with your project, with your pre-teaching part of the class. The first slide will have the title of the project with the teachers who participated in it. The second slide is gonna have the activity for the participating stage. Slide number 3, the activity for the engaging part. Slides 4 and 5, activities for the introducing stage. And then at the end, the 6th one will have the credit with the names of the teachers. When you finish, proofread your presentation and send it to your national advisor. And the national advisors will be checking in with you because we would love for some of the groups to present their ideas today at 2 p.m. That doesn't mean that you're gonna be back at 2. We're gonna ask you to be back a little bit earlier today. We're gonna be ask you to be back at 1:30. So make sure that you don't come back not too late.
So Facebook Live people, thank you so much. We're gonna come back. We're gonna go back live at 1:30. And we're gonna share a few videos from our work up here and give people a chance to get online and set up. So if you wanna come back at 1:30, and then at 2 o'clock, we're gonna start in again with a welcome, and then we're gonna start looking at the teachers' projects and what they did for the group work time. Just fun, and hopefully we'll have some time for some question and answers as well.
So just wanted to say hello to the people who have joined us closer to 2 p.m. Welcome back. Those who are sharing videos, it's super fascinating to see the art that you have at home, all the paintings and the decorations that you have and the colors. It's really fun to see.
I'm glad it was a nice experience. And this is such a great model, I think. Because I think everybody would be exhausted if we talked at you for 8 hours in one day, right? Wouldn't that be horribly boring? And who wants to sit that long? But the idea of having, you know, a session and then some group work, and now we're going to share and reflect a little bit, and call it a day. I just think it's a really nice rhythm. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you had a good lunch. Hope you had fun in the group work. And this morning, Alfredo and Nela had some technical challenges and also were called away to meetings and things. So we're happy to have you back here with us, at least for now. What would you like to share with us?
Well, I just want to greet all the teachers and thank for their hard work today. I know that today we learned a lot how to communicate, to plan, to organize a project, how to share, to support each other, how to understand people sometimes when there are some technical problems. I think you had all these kinds of experience today, and I think we learned. Beyond the knowledge, we learned other things. So today we learned Okay, to know, we learn to be and live in community. And for us, that is very important. To achieve this project for us is really, really positive, and we cannot wait to see it. I mean, to see all the projects.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, dear teachers from all over Costa Rica. On behalf of the Ministry of Public Education, the National English Advisory, we would like to say thank you for this joint effort. Thank you, Mary, and your beautiful team for making this a reality. This joint effort between the MEP and the U.S. Embassy together with your beautiful people. Thank you, dear teachers. I guess that the most important part of this webinar is you. What you've done, I've been just like surfing the net a little bit. I mean, checking on your projects. I'm not gonna tell anything about that, but I've seen beautiful, things, beautiful products today. Now we can see that we can have this beautiful paradigm shift in terms of like moving to more virtual, experiences with you teachers. And I'm glad about that. I'm glad to see what you can do, as Nela will said, not only learning and putting into practice, specific aspects of language from the new curriculum, but also sharing with others in a different way. So I'm glad about that. Thank you very much and welcome on board. And we really enjoyed what you're doing.
Invite Lauren Garza she's the Cultural Affairs Officer from the U.S. Embassy to join us. And Lauren, I've got you spotlighted and you are unmuted. So welcome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Great, thanks so much for letting me join you for a couple of minutes. It's amazing. It varies, but there's 724 people on right now, which is really, really incredible anytime, much less a Friday afternoon. So I just wanted to pop in and interrupt your training for just a couple of minutes to say hello from the U.S. Embassy. And I hope the day has been productive and useful for you all. But just wanted to let you know that the embassy supports you and really applauds you for taking the time to participate in the training. I know everyone is incredibly busy, especially kind of during this crazy time when our lives are turned upside down by virtual education and distance learning. And I've got 2 kids myself, and I really respect the work that you do. And I look forward to getting them back into school before too long. But my sister is also a high school English teacher, and so I think your work in particular, has an important place in my heart. But no, thank you for taking the time to do this. The embassy has kind of a range of programs that we do to reach teachers, and thanks to Mary and her great team with Yvonne and Matt. And also thanks for the support with the Ministry of Education, with Manolo and Alfredo and others, and all the advisors. But this small amount of time that you take, I think it's so important to kind of step away from the crazy day-to-day, to think about how you can be more effective in the classroom. And hopefully, beyond just this short training today, you'll be able to use some of the resources that the U.S. Department of State makes available to all teachers that are public and free and kind of constantly updated. So I know if she hasn't already, Carmen will provide that information about how you can access, online courses and resources that will help you in teaching, but that you could also pass along for your students to better learn English. So just a short way to say hello and good luck and best wishes to you all.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Thanks to you, and thanks to the U.S. Embassy for all that you're doing to support education in Costa Rica. It's made a huge difference. It's been a real huge support for the English reform, and we are really seeing the difference. All right, so this afternoon, we have a slightly different activity. Now you all will be presenting, some teachers will be presenting. And the way it's going to work is this: I'm going to be our MC, And we're going to have some people from I4CL. We're going to have Matt, I think, unmuting the teacher who's going to speak, as well as the advisor, in case the advisor is going to want to say something. I'll be sharing your materials from my computer. So you can tell me if you want me to, how you want me to move it, when you want me to move it. And we're going to see some of the work that you all created this afternoon. And I want everybody to know that all this work will be available to everybody. It'll be uploaded, the advisors will be uploading them into the toolbox. And so we're super excited to think about this incredible community of Costa Rican teachers creating materials to help Costa Rican teachers. It's really beautiful. All right, so this is our lineup. So Cañas is gonna go first. So we need to see Jose Porras. We need to get you unmuted and Henry unmuted. And I believe this is what you had wanted to share, right? Oh, wait.
Hello, Mary.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I am really good. Good to see you. Thanks for coming.
I'm glad I'm here.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you here. So glad. Tell us about what your group did today. Tell us about your group work. It sounded like you said it started out a little challenging. Is that what did you write? And then it got easier?
Well, we were working together as a team, and we were discussing about different ideas and different options in order to create a PowerPoint presentation. And out of the PowerPoint presentation, we created a video, a very short video, to work with students in unit number 3, 7th grade at high school. And well, I guess we did it.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
So,
what do we need to know about the unit before we watch the video?
Okay, I'm gonna explain what we did first, and then maybe we can play the video. In this case, in the PowerPoint part that is included in the video, we didn't include any audio. We just leave it like that. But you can add audio if you want it, up to you, the way you want to do it. And also you can add the image of the teacher at the bottom of the presentation so that students can see you while you are doing the whole presentation. This is about unit number 3, which is getting back to nature. Week number 2, the use of there is and there are. And also the theme is marvels in Costa Rica. So the idea is like this. I'm going to explain it and then we watch the video. And the idea is to let students participate of the class by asking them a question and letting them watch a video about a specific place in town. The name of this specific place in town in Tilarán is El Parque del Viento. It's a very nice place. If you have the chance to come one day, you will love to come. Then for engaging, we're going to have some questions related to El Parque del Viento in Tilarán. And after that, we introduce the topic by explaining the use of there is and there are. Finally, we're going to be using a picture, and the use of there is and there are is going to be introduced with new vocabulary for students to learn the vocabulary and the use of there is and there are at the same time.
Sun is coming up over the hill. I can hardly sit still. I got the will and I'll find a way. I'm not afraid. Waited for the chance all of my life. I can watch it go by. Now is the time. It's our choice to make. Every breath we take. No more praying off your knees. Play your heart out till your fingers bleed. Yesterday's history. Searching for a high elevation, a new destination, new revelation. Find it in your heart. That's where you start. Yeah. So no more praying off your knees. Play your heart out till your fingers bleed. Yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, but today we're gonna shine. So put your hands up and touch the sky, 'cause the sky is the limit tonight. We are all born to fly, yeah. So put your hands up and touch the sky, 'cause the sky is the limit tonight. We are all born.
Great.
Okay, that's the project we did, and I hope you like it, and maybe we can share it with some other teachers around the country.
Thanks. Roger and Nico, you want to chime in a little bit there?
Oh, absolutely. That was pretty cool. I loved how everybody reacted, because visuals are such a universal thing that if Jose and the team, if you had told me about this place, it wouldn't have been the same as actually watching a video or pictures of it. The music was just like an adrenaline rush. It was really cool. And I love how contextualized the whole practice of there is going to be just by watching this video. So yeah, I'm really blown away. Really cool.
We can't wait to go visit you in Tilarán, Jose.
I'm going to be waiting for you guys here.
Hey, Melania.
Hello, Melania.
Hey, Melania.
Hi. Okay. Well, our presentation is about the unit number 6. The scenario is Amazing Costa Rica. And then we had the team Traveling Necessities. So we start with a video. I think that is down there. Maybe you can move the... Oh yeah, thanks. There is the video to involve the students to the class, right? So I don't know if you want to play the video so we can.
Melania, the video's 4 minutes. Do you think we could play just part of it so we can have
Yes.
space? Let's get
Yes, just a little bit because it's too long, so it was not necessary.
So when traveling, there are a few essentials that I feel everybody needs, and obviously the first one is their suitcase. This is from Away Luggage, who partnered up with me for this video. They are hard-covered, very durable suitcases. You're not going to have to worry about them getting crushed or whatever underneath the airplane. And they also come with their own, pretty much their own charging station. They have a battery and USB cords, so you don't have to worry about finding something at the airport or a plug or anything like that. Also, I know luggage is super expensive these days, but everything they sell is under $300, and because you're watching this video, I got you guys a little hookup. If you just go to the description below everything, you'll find it right there. The next essential you're going to need is a pair of sneakers, because as you know, when you're traveling, there's going to be a lot of walking. You're going to be on your feet almost all the time. You're going to need something comfortable that's going to keep you alive throughout the entire day. Next thing is a little more dressy shoe. If you're going to go out, if you're going to do something with your friends, bring something that's a little more classy. And what I like to do is just stuff all my socks and all my knickknacks inside my shoes. That's going to keep the shoe its shape, and it's also going to save you a lot more room. And then you can just throw it into the side where the shoes are supposed to be, and then on the other side you have all your room for your clothes. It's a win-win. Next essential is your vanity kit. You need to put everything in here that's going to take care of your hygiene. I personally put in my travel shampoos and travel conditioners. These are from Kiehl's. These are their amino acid shampoos and conditioners. Very, very amazing. And then everything else.
Okay, I'm actually watching it because I like to keep watching it, but I think we get the idea. I think it's fantastic.
I was learning a lot.
Yeah. Let's go back to your presentation, Melania. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So there, the students add some information. They participate, like for saying what they need, because you know that we all need different kind of things to travel. Maybe it is really different between men and women. You know, so they can start giving some opinions of what they need when they travel. Then we add the weekly goals. I don't know if it's necessary to read it or if it's okay like that.
Oh, yeah, I think it's okay like that.
Yeah, okay. So then we make practice with that picture. There it's the audio. Well, we add the audio of 5 items, I think. And then the students have to say the other items to travel. And in this other slide, there is there are 2 pictures. So the students have to say the sentences about the future tense. So they also are going to use the vocabulary about traveling, and they have to use a future tense, so will and going to. There is an audio too, so we can give to them some examples, and then they have to do the sentence and to express what they are going to need when they travel, or to, I don't know, maybe to think about a future travel plan. So yes, and basically is that our presentation. I hope that you like it.
Thanks so
Thank you,
much.
Melania.
You're welcome.
Melania, we really enjoyed seeing the video, and I love how the idea of the video and the idea of, because it gets you thinking about traveling. I love how it could potentially open the doors for your students to start dreaming more about traveling and going to different places. So it really helps work towards that global citizen that the curriculum talks about. So I appreciate that video. It's a good, nice little motivator. I even have people in the chat saying that they need that suitcase now. So
Yes, it is really nice.
their sales might go up now.
And something that I was thinking, Teacher Melania and the group who created this, is that the level of English of the video, I think, was very natural, very casual, and I think it's good to use that sort of video with the students at times. I think it all depends on the expectations of what we want them to understand. We don't want them to understand every word, and I know that students freak out at the beginning because it's like, "No, teacher, it's too fast." But I think that it's good to get them used to listen to things that are natural, a little bit faster, but with the expectation that you don't need to understand everything. You just need to understand general ideas, key points. So I really appreciated that you chose an authentic video.
Yes, exactly. I think that it is very important, you know, to mix the audio and also with pictures or images, so they can do like a relation between both of them.
Absolutely.
People in the chat are asking if you can share the video, but just as a reminder, all of these projects that have been created today will be shared with you. So you'll be able to go to the link that you just saw in the presentation, and you will have access to the video.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and maybe Melania, you can share the link to the video in the chat.
Okay, perfect. I will.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I was getting excited too. I just said I could totally see using that video in class, and I can think of all this luggage, all this language that I don't think all this luggage. I can think of all this language that could be used authentically around the luggage and packing luggage.
Yes.
Thanks. All right,
Okay.
next up is Alajuela, Elena Madrigal, and Ronald. Elena, are you unmuted? Fantastic.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Let me spotlight you. Sorry, I'm a little behind on my technical skills.
Don't worry.
And I'll share your screen.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We created this PowerPoint presentation for you. Well, for all of us to share it.
And in our team is things I like to do. So maybe you can scroll down to pass the next. Well, I'm going to explain how it is going to be developed. We include a video, and it is to show students to get into the language that they are going to study in this unit. So we can play the video here. We don't have the, I think it is down, no, down, I think. Well, also we have some audio from our,
Sorry.
And here, maybe you can play the video.
Is the video?
Yeah.
I don't think it's coming through.
Oh, it is so. Oh, well, anyway.
I see the sound, but I can't seem to make it work.
Okay, okay.
I'm sorry.
Those are the things that happen. Maybe to scroll down, and there is another video that we included in. And here, what it says, what do you like to do? So, there is an audio there. So, if the teacher is not, they can listen to the audio. Maybe you can play the audio.
Elena, I don't think any of the audios and videos are working on this. Whatever was uploaded to where the site I'm at, they didn't also upload those. So I can't do any of them. I'm sorry. You can tell us about it.
Okay. Well, the audio shows some questions to our students. So during the audio, we say, I like to read, I like to eat, I like to cook, etc. And then we ask the students, what do you like to do? And what does she like to do? So we try to show some questions how to direct the students to speak. And then the next slide, there is a listening activity. Well, this one, they have to produce it. They have to produce by themselves things that they like and dislike. And the last, this one, it is a video, and they listen to the video. The video is with a British accent, so that they have the opportunity to compare both pronunciations. And they fill the activity here. So it is supposed, maybe we have to fix it to see why it doesn't work on you. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Elena.
You're welcome,
Elena,
sorry.
No, it's okay, no worries. We're sorry we couldn't play the audio, but I'm sure that once everyone accesses your materials through the Google Drive, they'll hopefully be able to see the audio, and if not, we'll find a way to fix that, okay? But thank you.
Thank you so
And
much.
I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed seeing at the beginning of your presentation the vocabulary and the pictures. I feel like that's a really great way of helping students encounter the key vocabulary that you wanted to share. The pictures bring lots of meaning, and it's really clear, and I think that's something students can do from home and work on their own with. So I think it's
actually, the video is with a song.
What
So
song?
the pictures sing instead of saying the vocabulary, they sing. I like to do this and this. So it's interesting.
That sounds really cool.
Well, thank you.
Jeffrey Rodriguez, are you on mute?
I guess now I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Fantastic. Sorry. This is an interesting experience. Very interesting experience finding somebody in 737 people.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, I'm going to spotlight your video. Hold on one second. Okay, I got you spotlighted.
Thank
now
you.
I'm going to share your presentation, which is a video, right?
No, it's actually a PowerPoint presentation, but the video that I sent you, it's the only video that I would like you to play if you're okay with the idea.
I just downloaded it, so I can do that.
Okay,
Let me see if I got it right. That would be.
Hello to all those wonderful English teachers. In this presentation, I'm going to cover the pre-teaching part of Unit 5, Scenario 4, Let's Celebrate Costa Rican Culture. All right, the first part is the warm-up. In this part, students are going to watch a YouTube video, whose link is at the bottom of this slide, and they're going to listen to a person talking about different holidays and traditions in Costa Rica. Afterwards, the students are going to comment on the vocabulary that they've learned, and finally, they are going to complete different sentences following the structure presented in this slide. So, for example, they are going to write, last Christmas night, I was at, for example, my grandma's house. Then, in this part, the students are going to watch a video with the teacher to go over the information that they've learned throughout these 4 weeks. After that, they will share some information about the goals of the week, and they're going to put into test what they've learned answering different questions from the video, like what is your favorite celebration and what do you like about celebrations in Costa Rica. And now for the introduction part, the teacher and the students are going to go over different vocabulary from celebrations all over Costa Rica. These teachers are going to look at the pictures, listening to the pronunciation of the teacher, and then they can describe what they see in the picture, and also they can share what they do differently in their families in the same celebration. The second aspect of this introduction part is the grammar and sentence frames. For this part, the students are going to watch an animation whose link is at the bottom of this slide, in which they will learn basic uses of the prepositions on, at, and in. Also, too, they will see how the simple past is integrated in sentences. Thanks for watching. This presentation was brought to you thanks to the collaboration of Yahaira Vanessa Vargas Villalobos from Colegio Académico Indígena La Casona, Dagoberto Prendes Bermúdez, Colegio Nocturno de San Vito, Lucía Rojas Vargas, Colegio Bilingüe Ítalo-Costarricense, Jeffrey Antonio Rodríguez Solís, CTP Humberto Meloni, Andrés Morungarro, Colegio Jorge Bolio Jiménez, y César Porras Elizondo, CTP Sabalito, Cotos Regional Office. Thanks for your attention.
Oh my God, Jeffrey, you should work at a radio station.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing that.
Thank you, guys.
Something that I personally really enjoyed from the presentation, apart from how clear everything was, and how you contextualized the unit to Costa Rican celebrations, is how you presented the goals in the engaging part of the lesson. And I think they were very accessible to students. They didn't have any weird language or like super complicated language. I think it was very appropriate. So
thank you.
Hopefully the students would understand why they're doing, why you're presenting what you're presenting, and hopefully they would engage in the wonderful activities that you presented.
Thank you.
Jeffrey, you and your group are receiving lots of love in the chat, in the Zoom chat. Everyone's saying how wonderful the presentation was and how they loved all the visuals that were included in the presentation. So it seems like a really nice material that you've created, and I think everyone can truly benefit from it.
Thanks a lot.
Tell us a little bit about the process of doing it while I see if I can download it.
Sure. Well, we had an amazing group. It was Paula, Karina, and Eddie, and I think we didn't work previously in anything together, so it was really nice working using technological tools. Like, we were thinking, like, what can we do, or how do we do it? Let's collaborate. Why don't we do it in Google Docs? So we started doing the presentation there, and it was so interesting. we found the slides using a technological format, and it was pretty interesting learning that way.
That's great. So again, you're also living our learning to be in community, huh?
Yeah, it was. I really learned, and I think all of the four of us did it.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah, let's see if it works here.
Good morning. Today we're going to talk about unit technology. And remember that the topic says that technology requires a responsible user. Our scenario is going to be from the wheel to the drone, and our theme is the next wave of innovation. Okay, right here we are going to talk about 4 important questions. Okay, number 1 says, do you use social media? Okay, think about how often. The second one says, how much time do you spend on social media each day? Number 3 says, do you like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or there are more apps that you use? And number 4 says, what technological devices do you need in order to use these apps? Okay, now think about how technology is going to change for the next 30 years and how it is going to change also our lives. Okay, explanation just in order to remember what we have studied. Okay, going to remember subject plus verb to be plus going to plus infinitive. Now the teacher is going to create a vocab in order to explain important vocabulary to understand the whole unit. Then students using a friendly app such as WhatsApp, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, these are just examples. Okay, they are going to record themselves and then they are going to send it to the teacher. They have to answer 2 important questions, 2 key questions. Number 1 says, do you think that children in 10 years are going to play with robots instead of dolls, Wii, PlayStation, or Nintendo? And the second one says, how technology is going to change over the next coming 15 years.
Yay! Thank you, Marcela, for that. I really love seeing how much you guys integrated different apps into this presentation, and you didn't force students into using one necessarily, but there was always an option to whether they wanted to use WhatsApp or Twitter or whatever the other ones were. So I just think it was really cool because then they can use whatever they're familiar with and whatever their connectivity possibilities are. But it's really great to see you using all these apps that we talked about earlier and ones I'm sure students will enjoy using. So good job.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I also love the fact that in your portion of that lesson, you're pushing students to think about the future. And it always happens to me when I work with teenagers that they feel that they are young and you're old, but they don't realize that they're going to be old soon and there's going to be a whole new world in 15 years. And so I think that I love when I challenge them to think, what do you think is going to be new in 15 years when you are a little bit older? I think students, some interesting conversations come up with that type of question. So super fun.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Thank you, Roy.
I'm sad, you guys. We have 5 other groups that want to present, but we don't have the time. I'm so excited that people are excited to present. And let me tell you what we're thinking about. We know that one is that we know you guys can have access to each other's materials to use, which is fantastic. Maybe we can have other people make videos like you all made videos, and we can send them around either on social media. We can put them in the toolbox. But I want to give a shout out to the people in Occidente, Lisbeth Gonzalez, and then San Jose Norte, Rosibel Acuña, and Christine Gamboa, and Sara Piqui, with Andrea Enriquez, Heredia, with Oscar Atavia, and Marlon Mora. And then we also had some teachers from Sula that wanted to present. I don't have their names here, but I was super excited about that. So I'm really, really sorry. But we also do need to finish at 3. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for working. One of the things that struck me is how a number of you said starting out in your group work, doing the group work piece was a little bit of a struggle. But when you figured it out, when you got in the rhythm, it was actually pretty amazing. And I think that in this time, this COVID-19 virus craziness that we're living, learning to collaborate virtually is one of the benefits that we're getting out of it. And there's so much that we can do, and there's so much that you can do as teachers. So, and virtually. And I think today was a big lesson in that. We have seen how much all of you can do. So thank you for that. Thank you to all the teachers. Thank you to all the regional advisors. Without you all, this doesn't work. You know, your connection with the teachers and your organization with the teachers, your inspiring and motivating the teachers makes a huge difference. And that helps them in turn motivate and inspire their students. So, you know, it's that cumulative effect. And then, of course, for the national advisors, thank you all so much for all the hard work that you've done. You are the ones that envisioned this, and we're the ones that are delivering it, but we're working hard to bring your vision to life. So thank you for that. Thank you also to the Alianza para Bilinguismo and to the Ministry of Education, because without your blessing and without your organization, we wouldn't be able to do this either. And I think that the Alianza para Bilinguismo is really working to pull people together and improve our English education opportunities for our students. And you teachers are doing a wonderful, an amazing job through that. But we need the Alianza to help us in our leadership and our organization. And a final big thank you to the U.S. Embassy, because they have funded this. And they also visualize it. They have a very close relationship with our national advisors and with the people in the Alianza para Bilinguismo. And again, they've been real leaders in promoting English language learning and education in our country. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I really want to thank the team at the Institute for Collaborative Learning. And also I'm going to open this up in just a minute for you all to talk, but you're phenomenal. Roger and Nico, thank you so much. Amazing. You're rock stars today, always. You're rock stars always. And I'm so grateful that everybody got to learn from your experience and your wisdom and your essence. I really do. It's a gift. It's a gift and a blessing. And Matthew and Matt and Yvonne, thank you so much for all your hard logistical work behind the scenes today. It's what makes it happen. It's amazing that 5 people could make all of this happen on this end. So thank you so much.